The following announcement has been paid for by Perched on the Top Rope.
This is TNA wrestler Eddie Edwards.
This is Moose.
And you're listening to
Perched
on the Top Rope podcast. Check it out. Follow us.
Hello, this is Rosemary of Decay and our darling partner, Havoc. You
Hello.
are watching Perched on the Top Rope.
The following announcement has been paid for by Perched on the Top Rope.
Say his name and he shall appear. This is Joe Hendry and you are listening to Perched on the Top Rope.
Welcome everyone to Perched on the Top Rope. I am your host, former dirt sheet writer from Ringside News, Daily DDT, Sportskeeda, The Sportster, and The Richest. I am Lee Walker, and this is going to be an interesting show because I've never done a podcast episode where I talk about two different wrestling companies that have pay-per-views on Friday and Sunday, and both will have each talent on the show. Now, of course, I'm excluding AEW New Japan Forbidden Door. I'm obviously not including when Impact Wrestling worked with AEW because they didn't have pay-per-views this close to each other, which TNA Emergence, ladies and gentlemen, has sold out. TNA Emergence is this Friday. That's right, it is this Friday. And the only way to watch that pay-per-view will be TNA Plus. Now the pay-per-view is starting at 8 p.m., which it's going to go toe-to-toe with WWE's SmackDown. And if it goes over 2 hours, then it will also go into AEW's Rampage, which airs from 10 to 11 right after SmackDown. But it looks like a great card, so let's just get right into it. As the first match, we have the Ultimate X match for the TNA X Division Championship, which is currently held by Mike Bailey, who is taking on Zachary Wentz, Riley Osborne, Jason Hotch, Hammerstone, and Laredo Kid. And this is where we are going to see our first of NXT stars on a pay-per-view taking place in TNA. And this all started when on August 1st on an episode of TNA Impact, it was announced that the Ultimate X match would be taking place at Emergence for the X Division Championship match. Within the following weeks, there were several matches to ultimately decide who was taking part in Ultimate X. Now, August 8th, we would see Mike Bailey defeat Trent Seven and Jake Something to ensure he would defend his title at Ultimate X. Now, later that night in qualifying matches, we saw Zachary Wentz defeat KC Navarro and NXT star Dante Chen. So that would make Zachary Wentz the second to qualify for Ultimate X. In the following week, we would see NXT stars Riley Osborne and Jason Hotch qualify for the Ultimate X after defeating Chris Bay, John Schuyler, Ace Austin, and Rich Swann respectively in their matches. Now the week after that, we would see Hammerstone defeat Kushida and Frankie Kazarian, while Laredo Kid would defeat Gujar and Jai Vidal to become the final two participants for Ultimate X. And that's how we got the match that we have. Now, with NXT stars in the match, on the NXT side, Zachary Wentz is feuding with Wes Lee, who they reunited on NXT, and then Wesley broke up the Rascals, and now it's back to how it was. And with Zachary Wentz qualifying, I think a really cool spot. Everybody's out, and it looks like Zachary Wentz is going to win it. What if NXT Wesley comes in and interrupts the match to stop Zachary Wentz from winning the TNA Ultimate X Championship? That'd be pretty cool. I mean, at least in my eyes, it would be something cool to see. But, that is something that I think could happen. Will it happen? We're going to have to wait and see on Friday, folks. Now, our next match is a one-on-one match as Steve Maclin will take on Eric Young. And I don't want to take away anything from these guys, but if the order of the matches go like this, then this is going to be a calm down or a cool down match before the next match. So I'm not expecting a lot from this match, but I'm going to put my money on that Steve Maclin wins the match. Now our next match is a 6 knockouts tag team match. We have Jordynne Grace and Spitfire, Dani Luna and Jody Threat taking on Ash by Elegance and Malisha, which is Alisha Edwards and Masha Slamovich. Now we've seen Jordynne Grace and Ash by Elegance on NXT already. I'm going to say that Ash by Elegance and the women's knockouts tag team champions Alisha Edwards and Masha Slamovich win the match. I would expect a lot of bumps to be taken in this match. With any time you have a multi-person match, you can expect big things to happen. And I think we're going to get some of those spots here in this match. And we're definitely going to get them in the next match, as it is an 8-man tag team match. Say his name and he will appear. Joe Hendry, Mike Santana, and the Hardy Boys, Jeff and Matt Hardy, will take on The System, Moose, Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, and JDC, who you might also remember as Dirty Dango, or in WWE, Fandango. Now, this is another match where you could see someone from NXT interfere, like Ethan Page, a former Impact star who was literally killed off in Impact. It would be really cool if he could, if he interfered in this match, costing Joe Hendry the match, because you're going to find out a little later who is going to be at NXT's No Mercy. But this whole thing went down following Rebellion, when the System began feuding with several other wrestlers in TNA. Broken Matt Hardy being one of them. After he made a full-time return after 7 years, he attacked Moose in his championship match with Nick Nemeth, which we saw Nick Nemeth become the new TNA champion. Now, the System went after other people such as Joe Hendry. There was a Champions vs. All-Stars 16-person intergender match that took place on Impact. It was a whole thing. Now, at Against All Odds, Henry challenged Moose for the TNA World Championship in a Broken Rules match. The match had constant interference, which resulted in Moose retaining. Also that night, we had the interference of Johnny Dango Curtis, JDC, who you might remember as Fandango, or Dirty Dango, also. Don't forget that. Now, this whole thing is building up to Slammiversary at this point, to which the System would begin to target Mike Santana, who was also made a return for TNA at Rebellion, with the goal of winning the Heavyweight Championship. We would also see the Hardy Boys challenge for the TNA World Tag Team Championships against Myers and Edwards, and they would fail because of the interference by JDC. However, we would see Santana align himself during the rivalry that's going on with the Hardys, and Joe Hendry's involved because he's one of the ones getting attacked by the system. So TNA decided to step in and basically do an end-all of end-alls. It's an 8-man tag. And as much as I believe in Joe Hendry, I think the system wins this. And our final match, the main event, the cream of the crop of this pay-per-view, will be an Iron Man match. 60 minutes, winner takes all. Nick Nemeth faces Josh Alexander. This match is going to be amazing. 60 minutes, I do expect some sort of downtime to happen. You know, a couple minutes here, a couple minutes there, for these guys to catch a break, get a breath of air, because they're going to need it. I know how this match is going to be. Now, this all happened because Slammiversary, Nick Nemeth and Josh Alexander both competed in a 6-way elimination match for the TNA Championship, which at the time was held by Moose. Both would make it to the final 3, to which after Alexander hits Joe Hendry with a low blow before eliminating him, which has him turn heel for the first time since 2021. Nemeth would then eliminate Alexander and Frankie Kazarian to win the championship. Now, 2 weeks later on TNA Impact, Alexander would lay out Nick's brother Ryan Nemeth. Now, Josh Alexander would explain his actions for the attack and everything, and Nick Nemeth would interfere or interrupt this and essentially say it's a match he's always wanted. Well, we end up having that match, folks, and unfortunately it ended in a time limit draw. After Nemeth demanded 5 more minutes, Alexander first refused, but changed his mind only after hitting Nemeth with a low blow. The result would stand due to Nemeth's compromised condition with the low blow. It stayed as a draw. TNA eventually announced that Nemeth and Alexander would have a rematch for the TNA Championship. And it's at Emergence, folks. And it is this match, the 60-minute Iron Man match. Now, I am expecting interference, whether it be TNA superstars, NXT superstars. I feel there's going to be interference at some point. I feel like we're going to see more NXT stars than that are announced for the show. So I'm looking forward to that. And that is also why I'm including the No Mercy predictions preview for this show also, because this is on Friday exclusively on TNA Plus, and No Mercy is Sunday on the Peacock Network. Now, if I had to pick who's going to win this match, I am going to say honestly that Josh Alexander wins, and I will explain my reason why when I go over the NXT No Mercy NXT Championship match. So let's just do that right now. So I'm going to assume that Ethan Page versus Joe Hendry with Trick Williams as the special guest referee is actually going to be the main event of the show, but I'm going to talk about it first. And this all started when on an episode of NXT, it was August 13th, Ethan Page was celebrating his successful NXT Championship events from week 2 of the Great American Bash, and he was interrupted by Joe Hendry. Yes, Joe Hendry from TNA. He would confront Page and stated that one of the reasons why he was in NXT was to win the NXT Championship. I mean, I would assume that's everybody's reason. Hendry then stared Page down. Wes Lee would appear and super kicked Hendry. Later in a backstage segment, we would see WWE Raw's Pete Dunne, who also stated he wanted the NXT Championship. Well, later that night, Wes Lee confronts Pete Dunne, and then Joe Hendry came out and attacked Lee. Karma! As security tried to separate them, NXT's general manager Ava, who I've met at WrestleMania, announced that Dunne, Hendry, and Wes Lee would face each other in a triple threat match on the following week of NXT. The winner will get to challenge Paige for the NXT Championship at No Mercy. Well, the match was won by Hendry despite Paige attacking 2 referees and unsuccessfully attempting to prevent Hendry from winning the match. He really did not want Joe Hendry to win the match. The following week, Hendry held a special concert at NXT, which was interrupted by Paige, to when Ava then appeared and announced that there would be a special guest referee for the No Mercy title match due to Paige's actions during the triple threat match and his disrespect for Henry. So Trick Williams was then revealed as a special guest referee. Now, the reason why I thought that there could be interference when it comes to Joe Hendry's TNA match on Friday is because of Wes Lee. Wes had attacked Joe Hendry from behind on NXT. Joe Hendry would win a match that Wes Lee was in, so Wes Lee does not get an NXT championship match. So why not cost him? But he could also cost him on Sunday at NXT No Mercy. We could see others interfere in this match as well, like people from TNA, like Trick Williams. One name that's sticking out to me, his name is Josh Alexander. He could reunite with Ethan Page from their tag team during TNA. Who wouldn't want to see the North reform, even if it was a brief reunion? They were phenomenal together, no pun intended of AJ Styles. However, for this match, I would say that if Joe Hendry wins on Friday, I'm going to put down that he does not win this match and that Ethan Page remains your NXT champion. I would love to see Joe Hendry win the match, and the reason is because from a news standpoint, right? From the news, that would be freaking phenomenal. Like, imagine waking up Monday morning and all you see all over your feed is that a TNA wrestler wins a WWE belt. For all intents and purposes, NXT is under the WWE name, so it is WWE in essence. Could you imagine that? That would be huge news. And if you're going to do it with anyone, I would do it with Joe Hendry. He's one of the hottest wrestlers right now. But who am I? Anyway, following match, I'm just going to go in reverse order. We have Wes Lee taking on Zachary Wentz. Now, we got the reunion. A reunion everybody wanted, by the way. So they reunite. And, you know, for those who remember, Zachary Wentz was terminated by NXT WWE over stuff involving a soon-to-be, at the time, divorcee, Kimber Lee, who is now no longer involved with wrestling. And what ends up happening is he ends up going to TNA, and he gets Trey Miguel, and they were known as the Rascals in NXT. At Great American Bash Night 2, Wes Lee attacked the fellow members, Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz, from TNA after he and Wentz failed to capture the NXT Tag Team Championships. This would be a heel turn for Wes Lee, and it's the first in his career. The following week, Lee, not me, Wes Lee, addressed why he attacked Miguel and Wentz, saying that Wentz abandoned him and went to TNA. Which, if we all remember, he was fired. Not really his fault. So then Wes Lee issued a challenge to Wentz for No Mercy on the next episode of NXT. Lee faced Joe Hendry and Pete Dunne in the triple threat match to determine the number one contender, as we'd already talked about, which Joe Hendry won. After the match, Wentz would attack Lee, and both men would have to be separated from security. The following week, they both agreed to the match. If there's interference here, it's going to be on TNA, and you're going to see Trey Miguel, and hopefully Trey Miguel helps Zachary Wentz, and Zachary Wentz of TNA wins the match. The next match is Chase University as Andre Chase and Ridge Holland take on Nathan Frazier and Axiom for the NXT Tag Team Championship. Now, how did this match come about? Well, on August 13th, the edition of NXT Chase University's Andre Chase and Ridge Holland defeated Axiom and Nathan Frazier to become the NXT Tag Team Champions. The following week, Chase U, which consisted of Holland, Chase, Duke Hudson, Riley Osborne, and Tia Hale, celebrated their victory, but Axiom and Frazier interrupted and requested their rematch. Hudson said he would consider giving them a rematch if they defeated him and Osborne, which they did. Thus, the match was made for No Mercy. I'm going to play the card that they're going to say that Riley Osborne and Duke Hudson are, just got done working TNA. Maybe might be a reason why they're not there to help their fellow teammates win this match. But they made such a big deal of Chase and Holland winning the tag team titles. I don't think they're going to flip this back and forth. And I'm going to say that hashtag and still NXT Tag Team Champions Andre Chase, Ridge Holland, Chase University. Our next match is for the NXT North American Championship, as the champion, Obafemi, takes on Tony D'Angelo. Now, this all started back in July 2024 when the NXT Heritage Cup champion Tony D'Angelo was interrupted in interviews by the North American champion. On August 13th, D'Angelo lost the cup to No Quarter Catch Crew, Charlie Dempsey, who just so happens to be William Regal's son. The following week, Dempsey and his stablemates celebrated his victory. They were interrupted by Femi, who slated his interest in winning the cup. D'Angelo subsequently appeared, seemingly to ask Dempsey for a rematch, only to incite a brawl between the D'Angelo family and the stablemates of the NQCC while staring Femi down. The two subsequently would brawl, D'Angelo getting the upper hand on this one, and then it would later be announced that Femi would defend his title against D'Angelo at No Mercy. They just recently had Oba defeat Otis in a good match on NXT recently. Unless there's a lot of interference, I don't see him losing this match. And if there is going to be a title change, it's going to be this match. I'm not too sure on Oba Femi, to be honest with you. I don't know much about him other than what I've seen, and what I've seen hasn't been enough. I could see this match being the match that if they change a title, this is going to be the one, and Tony D'Angelo wins. Speaking of North American Championships, our next match is for the Women's North American Championship, as the champion Kalani Jordynne will be taking on Wendy Chu. And this all started when on week 2 of NXT's Great American Bash of August 6th, Jordynne defeated Tatum Paxley to retain the NXT North American Women's Championship. Wendy Chu appeared after the match, seemingly to confront Paxley, only to attack her from behind. The following week, Jordynne sat ringside for a match between Paxley and Lola Vice, who was attacked by Chu from behind, with Chu posing with Jordynne's title. Jordynne then interfered in Chu's match against Vice the following week, only for Vice to accidentally strike Jordynne. Chu subsequently attacked Vice with a pillow to win the match. Jordynne then challenged Chu for a match at No Mercy, which Chu accepted. Now, just the other night on NXT, Chu had the opportunity to hand pick an opponent for Jordynne on the go-home show of NXT this past Tuesday. And no surprise, Wendy Chu, who is a rather dark, mysterious creature of the night, chose TNA's Rosemary. That's right, Rosemary of TNA made her official NXT debut this past Tuesday to take on the champion. And my, oh my, what a match. This would be another championship, because it's a secondary that if I thought that it was going to be lost, this would be a championship that would, be, changing hands. However, I would like to see Rosemary help Wendy Chu, or maybe even Havoc help Wendy Chu win this match. And if that's going to be the case, then I'm going to say Wendy Chu is # new NXT Women's North American Champion. And we have, ladies and gentlemen, the final match, which is the NXT Women's Championship, as Roxanne Perez takes on Jada Parker. That's right. Jada Parker, Roxanne Perez. Roxanne Perez is red hot. When you hear about women's wrestling in NXT right now, she is the hottest thing. She is the hottest person, the hottest champion on the roster. Hands down. Hands down. You're not going to tell me otherwise. Right now, I don't see too many women on the NXT roster that are popular enough to take out Roxanne Perez. There are some names. 100% there are some names, but it is not Parker. It's not Parker. It's not going to be Parker. And I'll make it real simple. # and still NXT Women's Champion, Roxanne Perez. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I am very excited about these two pay-per-views, especially because of the working relationship that TNA has with NXT and WWE. I'm excited for the fact that we're getting new faces starting to come out of this, as this past Tuesday we had Rosemary. I'm excited for everyone who's on the TNA pay-per-view. I'm excited for everyone who's on the NXT PLE. So fans, make sure you check out TNA Emergence Friday, 8 p.m. exclusively on TNA Plus, their app. Show will be starting at 8 p.m. And then Sunday, ladies and gentlemen, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, you have WWE/NXT No Mercy. Fans, make sure you go to our YouTube channel where you can watch all these exclusive interviews. As you heard from the show opener, we've had the System, Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers on the show. We've had Moose on the show. We've had Joe Hendry on the show. We've had Jordynne Grace on the show. We've had plenty of TNA talent on the show. So go to youtube.com at Perched on the Top Rope to watch those interviews. You can go to our podcast and listen to those interviews if you're in the car, at the gym, anywhere where you can't really be watching, but you can listen. Apple, Google, Spotify, Podbean, Podbay, Red Circle, you name it. We're on every form of podcasting platforms there is. It's Perched on the Top Rope. And for all of you who listen and have kept us on Chartable, I would love to thank the United States of America, Great Britain, Canada, Australia, Germany, France, Ireland, Japan, Switzerland, India, Belgium, Turkey, that's right, Turkey, Singapore, and Hungary. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening each and every week to Perched on the Top Rope. You can follow us on Facebook as a follower or give us a like, or do both. Facebook.com/Perched on the Top Rope, where we recently reached 10 million. That's right, 10 million reached. You can find us posting all sorts of wrestling news there. You can follow us on Instagram. It is Perched on the Top Rope Podcast, where we have amazing reels. We are on TikTok. It is Perched on the Top Rope on TikTok, where this used to be funny, but now that he's passed, it's not that funny. There is a TikTok on our page of Kevin Sullivan getting humped by a dog. Rest in peace, Kevin. We are also on X at Perched Top Rope. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're all over social media. Make sure to go and like us and follow us and subscribe anywhere and everywhere you can. Because remember, spoiler free's the way to be. I'm out.